5 years ago, protests erupted on the streets of Kiev, demanding the country turn towards Europe and stamp out corruption, setting in motion events that have upended the country. Russian favourite, President Viktor Yanukovych, was ejected. The Crimean Peninsula was annexed, and Russian-backed forces took part of the Donbas region. On March 31, Ukrainians head to the polls, with more candidates to choose from than ever.
39 candidates want to be president of Ukraine and have signed up. There's no shortage of choice in this race. However, the candidates are lousy. That's really the issue. The issue at stake is not the foreign policy of Ukraine. It's really the quality of democracy that Ukrainians want.
This is the major test for Ukrainians themselves, because while voting in these elections, we actually will cast our votes not only for the certain candidate, but also for the course of the country.
So how much has changed since 2014? Ukraine no longer depends on Russia for gas. It has reformed public procurement, health and banking. The army has been revamped. But while Ukrainians can travel freely to the EU, some of the other changes aren't being felt.
Те, задля чого люди вийшли на Майдан, щоб воно таки втілили.
Ukrainians want a normal European government. They want to make decent salaries. They want dignity. They want justice. These are the same concerns that they had 5 years ago, and those concerns haven't been met.
A large part of this involves removing corruption from a system in which oligarchs competed for political power. Ending that carousel was what drove people to the streets in the first place.
Ukraine, unfortunately, has a very bad system in which major oligarchs, major businessmen, they have incredible influence on Ukrainian statecraft and on Ukrainian political decision-making because of the parties they own, because of the connections they have with politicians. And this is the thing that hasn't been addressed that much in recent years.
Analysts say corruption has barely decreased, despite a new anti-graft agency. President Petro Poroshenko is himself worth over $700 million and is blamed for the lack of progress. But the problem runs deeper than Poroshenko.
There was no effective renewal of the system, renewal of people who are running the country. Mostly the current authorities, with very few exceptions, are the people who have been running this country for the last 20 years.
Poroshenko's main rivals are former Prime Minister Yulia Tymoshenko, who made a fortune trading natural gas in the 1990s, and a comedian, Volodymyr Zelensky.
The race is between Volodymyr Zelensky, who's an inexperienced comedian who has never held political office. He's only been the president on a television show. And Ukrainians are so angry with the status quo that they're willing to consider someone who has no experience.
The problem with Zelensky is that we don't know what he is standing for. I'm not that much against Zelensky himself. I just think that he's not very much prepared to be a president.
And Russia's presence looms large.
War overshadows everything, and this is something that has to be kept in mind, that the biggest interference that Russia could possibly do, it has done it back in 2014. Part of Ukrainian territory is annexed, and in Donbas we have an ongoing warfare, and we have 13,000 people killed over the 5 years.
So how to move forward?
In a way, the best thing we can do in order to return territorial integrity of Ukraine is to move forward as a successful country and become more effective, richer, and better country.